Hi, and welcome to Orchetraker tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to set up and use your ultimate 50-30-20 budget spreadsheet in the most efficient way. In this video, I'm using Google Sheets, but the Excel version is exactly the same. First thing, we protect most of the cells where there are formulas to make sure that you don't erase any important formulas that could impact the spreadsheet. So if you see this kind of message, it means that you are not supposed to touch it. But don't worry. I'll show you step by step how to prepare your spreadsheet. In the case where by mistake you touch to a cell with a formula and you see this message, simply click on the X button and you will be fine. Same thing on Excel. If you touch a cell with a formula, you will see a similar message. Simply click on the X and you will be fine. The first tab of the spreadsheet is the Setup tab. In this tab, you will have to enter your currency symbol, and you won't have to enter it anywhere else in the spreadsheet. So as you can see right now, it's the $sign, but you can change it for any currencies. Then, you will have to define the calculator setup of your budget. You have the possibility between a zero-based budget, where your budget will be reset every month to zero. Then, the second option is a carryover budget. With this option, your budget will be rolled over month. For this example, let's take the zero-based budget at first, and I will switch the strategy later to show you the difference. So let me use the drop-down menu to select zero-based budget. The last feature of this tab is to define your expenses categories. These categories will be used in every monthly tabs of your spreadsheet. So if you need to add a new category in the middle of the year, you will have to come back to the Setup tab and add it here. So as you can see, you have plenty of space to write more categories. And if you scroll down, you also have some room for the subscription and the debts. So now let's have a look at the bank account tab. This tab will help you to track all your bank account balance. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to list all your account. Then, using the drop-down menu, select your account type, then enter each account's balance. All the gray cells are auto-populated, so you do not need to write any information. The data are auto-populated from the rest of the spreadsheet. We also added a column for adjustments if needed. And if you double-click on the date, you will see a little calendar appearing. You can enter the last time you checked your accounts to keep track of them. So let's make an example together. Let's say I have an RBC checking account. So I just list it. Then I choose the type of account. So this is obviously a checking account. Then let's say my starting balance is $2,500. As you can see, we already see a little bit of information here in the gray cells. Again, don't touch it. Everything here is auto-populated from the rest of the spreadsheets. Then let's say the last time I checked my account was yesterday. Then if you scroll down a little bit, you will see the credit cards account table. You can do exactly the same thing, but for your credit cards, except that there is no account type. The initial balance is the balance of your credit card at the beginning of the year, or when you started to use this spreadsheet. So let's make another example together. Let's say Visa, Jessica. The starting balance was $450. Again, don't forget that you should not write anything in the gray cells. And then last time checked was also yesterday. Finally, if you scroll down at the bottom, you will see a table where you can enter all the transactions between your accounts. Simply enter the date, the account from which your transfer has been made, and the account receiving the money. Of course, don't forget to enter the amount. This table should be used especially when you transfer money to your savings account or when you want to pay your credit cards. So let's make an example. Again, yesterday, let's say I transferred money from my RBC checking account to a credit card here. And let's say it was $500. Here we go. Now let's have a look at the Annual Dashboard tab. This tab will help you see an overall summary of your financial year. Let's keep this tab for the end so you can understand the spreadsheet better first. Now let's have a quick look at the Annual Totals tab. You do not need to enter any information in this tab. Everything is auto-populated from the rest of the spreadsheet. This tab is also a monthly summary of all your income and expenses. The purpose of this tab is only to help you see your overall yearly spendings in all categories. Now let's have a look at the monthly dashboard. You have 12 monthly tabs from January to December. However, you can start your budget in any months, not necessarily in January. We'll take the month of January as an example. But the way you fill in the information and your data is the same for every month. So as you can see, on the left-hand side at the top of the page, you have your summary of your data for the month. You can easily see your total income, total expense, left to spend, as well as left to budget. You do not have to enter any information in those cells. Same thing for the blue table called budget summary. Everything is auto-populated, and the only purpose is to help you understand your financial performance. Remember, the aim for the monthly tab is to create a budget based on your estimated income and expenses. And make sure that you have enough money to pay for all your expenses. So if you have money left at the end of the month, well, good job. It means that you can use it to pay your debts more quickly or put this money aside in your savings. But the most important is to keep this concept in mind. So when you will receive your budget, it's going to be empty like this, and you would have filled in your categories in the setup. And as you can see, it's all populated here. However, of course, there's no number since you will have to add them. So the first thing that you will want to fill in to prepare your budget is your income table. You can enter the source of your income, your payday, your expected income, and then in which account it was deposited in. Then, when you receive your income and it's basically in your bank account, you can fill in the real column. This column really represents the amount that you really received. So it can be more than what you expected if you did overtime or had a bonus, but it could be also less if you were sick or were not able to work as much as expected. So let's fill this in together so I can show you an example. So now that I'm done filling in my income, I will wait at the end to fill in the real column. Then, you will want to budget your expenses in those categories. As you can see, all the categories' names are already filled in from the information entered in your Setup tab. The budget column is the amount you plan to spend for the month, and the real column is the real amount that you spent for every spending categories during the month. So before I show you how to fill in your spreadsheet, I want to show you a new features. So if you click on the little plus here, you will see this message. Like I said at the beginning, that you should just click on the X. But in this situation, only if you're using Google Sheets, you can click on. Okay, that's the only time that you can click on. Okay, and then as you can see, 25 rows will be added to your spreadsheet. So this part is really to track your budget. If we scroll down here, this section is to track your real expenses. In this table, you will have to enter the date, the amount that you really spent. Then use the drop-down menu to CL. Classify your expenses into a category previously written in your budget. So let's fill in some data together, and I'll show you how the graphs and the table will change. Don't forget, when you have bills or subscriptions as well as debts, you need to enter a due date. This due date will also be reflected in the smart calendar that I will explain later on. Perfect. Now that all our budget is filled in, we will enter the real income and real expenses. So the first thing, once you receive your income, don't forget to write it. So let's say the month is finished and I know how much I received. I will just input the information here. So as you can see, a few graphs already start to appear. And once we will fill in the transaction tracker, everything will start to become to life. So let's now enter some data into the transaction tracker. So don't forget, these are real data. I mean, meaning that these are real amounts, the real transactions that went through your bank account. So let's do a few examples together. Let's select the date. Let's say the first of the month. Let's say we paid $120 for electricity. You can either use the drop-down menu to find your category, or you can start typing, and you will see it's going to show itself. And then this was taken from, let's say my JP Chase checking account. Let's do a second example. Let's say Netflix. Where is it? Let's say, and here we go. And let's say this was for my BMO checking. All right. So I will fill this in and come back to you with more explanation. So once you filled in your transaction tracker for the whole month, you will see in the green table on the left-hand side, right here, that all the categories are sorted from the highest to the smallest. You will also know which day of the month you spent the most money. So in our case, it was definitely February 7th. In this chart, we'll also know where your money goes. And if we scroll up to the top of the tab, all the graphs now appeared. Those graphs are showing your family financial performance of the month. So now let's take a look at what happens if we change the calculation setup from zero budget base to carryover. So let's quickly have a look at our January monthly tab. So as you can see, we have more than about $3,000 in the left to spend, meaning that we had a higher income than our expenses. And we have a few $1,000s left in our bank account. Now let's go back to February. Same thing, we have something very similar. Like we have $2,000 left to spend. So if we go back to our setup tab and change the calculation setup from zero base budget to carryover budget, and now go back to our February tab, you will see that the month of January as well as the month of February were added up. Same thing for the left of budget. So again, just a quick reminder. The difference between the zero budget and the carryover or rolled over budget is that if you choose the zero budget, you will start from zero every month. This strategy is really to help you put all the extra money into savings or repaying your debts. If you choose the carryover strategy, it means that you could be more tempted to spend this money, except if you straight up put it into your savings. This is totally a choice, and you do you. Now let's have a look at the 50-30-20 dashboards. This tab will help you implement the 50-30-20 rules. So this rule is a budgeting technique that involves dividing your money into three primary categories. 50% towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings and debt repayments. So the first thing that you will have to choose in this tab is the month you want to visualize. Then the data from the monthly tab will be auto-populated into the summary table to let you see all your spending categories. So we just filled in the month of February together. So let's just use the drop-down menu and select February. As you can see, all the data from the monthly tab suddenly appeared. All the spending categories like bills, expenses, subscriptions, saving, and debts will also be auto-populated. So the only thing that you will have to do is categorize the expenses in either needs, wants, or savings. So before you start, we can also take a look at the green table called My Goal Breakdown. In this table, you can change the ratio if you think that 50-30-20 does not fit with your lifestyle. This rule is only a guideline, and it doesn't mean that you need to follow it exactly. Once this step is done, you will see your percentage in the gray table. So let's change it just for example purposes. So let's say that my need, I want them to be 40%. Before I continue, as you can see, every time that your percentage breakdown do not add up to 100%, you will see the total in red.
So make sure that all your three numbers add up to 1M. So let's say my needs are 40%, my wants are still 30%, and my savings, let's say they're 30% as well. So now let's fill in the categories together. So a small tips, usually the bills are needs. Perfect. Now let's have a look at the expenses. Usually expenses are either a need or a want. Let's have a look at the savings. Savings usually goes into savings and debt. So let's put this in. Now let's scroll down and look at the subscriptions and debts. Subscriptions are more than often a want, and that is my case in this example. And then finally for the debts. Usually the debts goes into savings and debts. So now, next. So scroll up. So now let's compare my goal breakdown to my real budget breakdown. So as you can see, we selected 40% for needs, 30% for wants, as well as 30% for savings and debts. This is my real breakdown. So it's pretty close, not bad for an example. You will also be able to visualize your data in the graphs above to help you understand your financial situation. Now let's have a look at the Smart Calendar tab. In this tab, you will be able to see all your monthly bills. So the first thing that you'll have to do is to choose the year and the month. And you will see all your income bills, subscriptions, and debts appearing. So for my example, I took the year 2022. So I just type it in. Then I use the drop-down menu to select my month. So I'll stick to February. As you can see, all the income, bills, subscriptions, and debts that we entered in our monthly tab are transferred here. Once you've paid a bill, you just have to tick the checkbox, and the word is going to be struck through, and the color will also change to green. This way, you will never forget to pay a bill or a subscription. So let's take an example. Let's say we paid for internet, Netflix, the gym membership, and Jessica personal loans. As you can see, every time we tick something, the word is struck through in the green. So the goal is to have everything struck through by the end of the month. I will now untick everything and show you how to print your calendar if you want to have it printed somewhere. So if you are on Google Sheets, simply select your whole calendar, like so. Then click on the small printer icon. Then in the printing setting, select Selected Cells. As you can see now, you can clearly see your calendar on one page. Once you're satisfied with the printing settings, you simply click on Next. Then you select your computer. Then you select your printer and click on Print. In my case, I do not want to print, so I will click on Cancel. Oh, by mistake, I might have clicked on a cell with a formula. So as you can see, I got this error message. So again, don't forget, if you see this kind of message, simply click on X. Here we go. If you are on Excel, the steps to print your calendar is very similar, and you can also refer to the README instructions that is provided with your order. So now let's have a look at the Sinking Funds tab. This tab will help you set money aside to reach your goals. So the first thing that you want to do is to list all your money goals. You can list up to 15 sinking fund in this tab. First thing, you have to give your goal a name, then write the amount of money you need to reach that goal, the amount you aim to put aside each month, as well as your starting amount. So let's take an example. Let's say I want to prepare a wedding. My goal is to put aside $10,000. My monthly goal is to put aside toward this goal $250, and I already have saved $500. So I will fill this in to show you how it would look like.
Show you how it would look like.
So now that I set up all my goals, you can see here that everything is auto-populated. So basically, this will add up what you saved, what you have left to save, the percentage of progression. and how many months left until you reach your goal, as well as the estimated date to reach your goal. So in the contribution tracker on the right-hand side, you will have to track the amount you put aside for your goals and assign it to specific goals. So the first thing that you want to do is to double click on the date. If you're on Excel, again, you need to write it manually. So let's say I put $500 toward my wedding. I just read it here. Then another example, let's say I put aside $50 for a new phone, like this. I will fill this in and then show you how it would look like. So here we go. I filled in a little bit of information. As you could see, all the graphs were changing. So as time goes by, you will see your progression increase. You can easily see how many months you have left until you reach your goal and the date you should achieve this specific goal. So again, you have space for a total of 15 sinking fund in this spreadsheet. So now let's have a look at the debt calculator tab. In this tab, you will be able to see all your debts, debts payments, and debt-free date. The first thing that you will want to do is to enter the date you started paying your first debts. So let's put 2022 and select a month. Let's say November. Then you will have to choose the repayment method. Right here, you have the choice between the avalanche strategy, the snowball method, and the custom method. In the avalanche method, you prioritize the debts based on their interest rate. You pay all the minimum payment for all your debts, but you allocate all extra money to the debt with the highest interest rate. This method helps you minimize the total interest paid over time. Then the snowball strategy method focuses on paying debts with the lowest balance first, then progressing to the largest one. Once a debt is paid off, the freed up money goes toward paying another debt, hence creating a snowball effect. If you want to customize which debt you want to pay first, you can choose the custom option, and the debt will be treated and analyzed in the order you wrote them in the table below. So let's click on Snowball. You can add extra cash you have freed up that you would like to put toward paying your debts, but of course, it's optional only. For an example here, I will write $50. Finally, you need to list all your debts. If you choose the avalanche or snowball strategies, you do not need to bother with the order you write them, since they will reorganize based on your chosen strategy. However, if you choose the custom method, you have to write them in order you plan to pay for them. So the first thing that you want to do is enter the debt name, the initial balance, the interest rate, and minimum payment. So let's take an example together. So let's say I have a credit card, debt. The initial balance is $5,000, and then my interest rate is 24%, and my minimum payment is $75. So you do the same thing for all the debts. I will fill this in, and you will see how the graph will change. So once everything is entered, the rest of the sheet will auto-populate by itself. Moreover, if you have some spontaneous money that you want to put toward your debt, you can write it in the overview plus or minus cell. Or you could decrease your monthly payment if you need. So let's say I had here $25 money, $25 extra. Let's say in June I had, I don't know, like 300, and I plan to have less money this month. So let's say minus $100. So these amounts will be taken into the reimbursement calculation. So as you can see, all the graph appeared, and you can see all the debt-free date for your individual debts. And here you can see your initial balance, the total monthly payments, as well as the overall debt paid off date. If you also change the strategy, you will see that those numbers will change. Here we go. Since the reimbursements will not be exactly the same. The net worth tab will help you visualize your financial worth over time. So the first thing that you will want to do in this tab is to list your assets and liabilities. So as you can see, I filled in some data. I will continue to fill in some data so you can see how the spreadsheet will react. So every month, make sure to add all your assets and liabilities total, meaning that you can just check your bank account bottom line and enter the data. You can also use the bank account tab to help you. So once you have started to fill in the data, the sheet will automatically calculate everything for you. So as you can see at the top, you can see your overall worth as well as your annual growth. And in the graphs, you will also be able to see your net worth over the months and the difference between your assets and liabilities, as well as the asset distribution. So now let's have a look at the challenge tab. This tab aims to track how many days you did not spend money, as well as setting challenges for yourself. So the first section is a no spending challenge. You simply have to enter the number of days that you do not want to spend any money. Then the rest is automated. So you will see the calendar appear. Since I filled in all the spreadsheet for an example, you can see that every days are colored. So let's first put goals for January. So my goal is to not spend any money during 10 days in January. Then February, let's say 10 days. March, let's go crazy. 15, 10, 10, 10, bold, 20. Here we go. So in this calendar, the greener, the better. So when you are in this color, deep green with X, it means that you did not spend any money during that day. On the right-hand side, you can see your achievement percentage days without spending. So as you can see, I was above my goal, and it's reflecting in the progression here, or in the percentage. I also have the longest strike, as well as the money spent during the month. If you scroll down, you will see a section for custom challenges. So simply enter the name of your challenge. In my case, it's going to be like coffee. So to decrease the amount of coffee that I drink, you will have to write the average cost of each coffee. In my case, let's say I pay about $3 for coffee. Then enter your usual daily consumption. In my case, I drink and I buy 2 coffee a day. Then simply enter your no spending goals for the month. So let's say in January, I don't want to buy coffee for 10 days. I just write 10. In February, I want to stop buying coffee and avoid buying it for 15 days, 15, 20, and so on. So then simply tick the box when you did not spend any money on this specific item. So let's say on the 2nd of January, I didn't drink coffee. The 3rd, the 5th. Let's go. Here we go. So I'll just fill this in to give you an example. So you will see that all the data are summarized here, and also you can see, again, the number of days that you did not spend any money on coffees, the progression. So how did you do over your goals? And then the longest strike, as well as the money saved by avoiding buying this specific item. You can also use the forecast feature to estimate how much money you would save over the year. So let's say I buy coffee 5 times a week. It means that if I avoid, or if I do not spend money on coffee 5 times a week, I would save about $780 per year, which is $65 a month. So we hope that this tab will challenge you and motivate you to save some money. So now that you saw the spreadsheet, let's go back to the annual dashboard. You do not need to enter any information in this tab. Everything is auto-populated. This tab is basically a summary of your yearly information. As you can see on the top, you have all your basic information, like how much you earned, how much you spend, your annual saving, left to spend, best saving month, and your biggest expense. You also have comprehensive graph to help you understand your yearly financial performance. The first graph is showing the income and versus your expense, your annual overall budget, where your money went during the year, as well as the increase of your saving during the year. If you keep scrolling down, you will see a summary of the most important tabs. So in the sinking fund, you will see all of them summarized as well as your overall progression. Then in your debt calculator, you will also see the most important information. So the initial balance, your strategy, as well as your debt-free date. If we keep scrolling down, you will see your overall net worth, as well as the exact net worth and your annual growth. And finally, at the end, you have your no spending challenge, with all the progressions for all of them, and how much money you saved, by doing all of them as well. So, that's it. I hope this tutorial helps you easily set up your spreadsheet. Do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Get the template, link in the description below. Subscribe for more personal finance lessons that school never taught you. Thank you.